Hey man, hey, we're live. Happy Friday, everybody. Man, what is today? November something, right? It's like we're coming into Thanksgiving, coming in, we're past the halfway point of the month. So, hey, welcome to Manufacturing E-commerce Success. I know you guys are wondering, like, hey, where's Damon? Well, Damon's out, like conquering the world, doing like he's superhero, like slaying villains, doing great stuff. And so we have an amazing, incredible guest today. Man, am I fired up! This guest personifies manufacturing e-commerce success. Paul Dabrowski. Paul, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Hey,
Listen,
well, man, welcome to the show. And so, hey guys, everybody out there, drop us a note in the chat box. Let us know that you're there. Give Paul a big hello and a warm welcome. You definitely, absolutely want to connect with Paul on LinkedIn. He's with BigCommerce. Man, we're going to be jamming about e-commerce. You know what, Paul? We'll go in that presentation in a minute. Let's come back here for a second. So, Paul, I love to start our program off with a little question. Paul, where did you grow up at? Where'd you grow up by any chance? Where'd you grow up?
man, that's a great question. I moved a lot as a kid, you guys, but I'm originally from San Diego,
Are you
California.
originally from San Diego? So let's go here, Paul. Moved around a lot. When you were a little guy growing up, question for you. Okay, pop quiz. When you were a little guy growing up, who was your hero?
My hero is my mom, you guys.
Your
Yeah.
mom. All right, great answer, man. Hey, speaking of mom, I've got a boy mom right here, right? Hey, there's Whitney. Whitney Houston's in the house. Happy Friday. Hey, happy Friday to you, Whitney. So let's hear about mom, Paul. Why was mom your hero?
She was an incredible, mother to me, and she raised me along with my three sisters,
Nice.
by herself. And she taught me to be the man who I am today. I owe everything to her. She was such an inspiration. I don't know how she did it, growing up. And essentially, we didn't have much. We didn't need much. The sand, sun, some surf. And it was an incredible thing. So I grew up, with an incredible mother
That is
who put me on the right path, and I owe
well.
everything to her.
Well, hey, for all of us sons, we worship our mothers. But hey, what's mom's name, Paul?
My mom's name is Lynn.
Lynn. All right. Hey, big shout out to Lynn. We're sending lots of love to Lynn out there for raising this wonderful, incredible, just dynamic young man. So, Paul, let's slide in. So, all right. So, mom's your hero. Grew up in San Diego, moved all over the place. Sun, surf, right? Is that what you said? Sand, sun, and surf. I absolutely love it. So let's go here. So if man, guys, connect with Paul on LinkedIn. When you look at your career, what I love is you have some corporate experience. You look like a serial entrepreneur, founder, and CEO a couple of times. Walk us through your path. Let's get to know who's Paul through your career.
Yeah. So I've always had, this entrepreneur spirit. In fact, in high school, I married my high school sweetheart,
Oh, nice.
too, you guys. In high school, we actually, my wife started a little dessert company, and that turned into a legitimate company that we had employees, and, we distributed her products into Whole Foods and Wegmans. If anybody knows the Northeast a little bit, they know
Oh, yeah.
Wegmans. And yeah, it turned into like a cookbook. And at the time, this was like, 2004, right out of high school.
Yep.
And she needed to have a website, a presence, right? And you couldn't just spin up an e-commerce shop back then. In fact, I think payments at the time were like payment buttons. And they were being kind of like scrutinized.
Yeah.
Like people were, should I pay something online or not? That's where we were. And so, from there, I always had that passion, essentially, of entrepreneurship. But with that came a lot of challenges too, and so I've learned from those challenges and those failures over the time. But essentially, I've been in my entire career in like the B2B, space, whether it's been startup, to global enterprise. So the past 10 years, essentially, I've spent doing digital transformations for essentially Atlas Copco, $12 billion entity,
Wow.
industrial global leader. They
Yep.
had a number of failing e-commerce plays. They did an NPS scoring, found out they were hard to do business with.
Yep.
And so what to do? Well, digitally transform the company. And that turned into essentially a marketplace where we consolidated those e-commerce shops that were, not doing well, and successfully launched a marketplace that consolidated them and digitally transformed the company and the customer experience. So yeah, we served essentially a $3 billion revenue engine for Atlas Copco through the vacuum technique segment. They had 4 segments that served a larger group, and I served the vacuum technique segment of that. But yeah, that led to my co-founder going to co-found Swell Commerce and raising their Series B, 25 million, and scaling that company. So I've been in e-commerce and B2B specifically for my entire career, with a focus in e-commerce and B2B over the last 10 years.
Well, I absolutely love it. Hey, we've got a couple of comments here. So, hey, welcome everybody. Happy Friday to you, and welcome to joining us here. We've got a little shout out to Wegmans. Man, I love Wegmans. I know my wife loves Wegmans. So, all right, Paul, let's keep it rolling. So again, guys, we're talking about BigCommerce. Okay, so lifetime career for you, Paul. B2B e-commerce, like you just really geek out on that. You're totally singing our song. We always love speaking to manufacturers about their e-commerce strategies. So let's take a dive in. You are with BigCommerce, and they are really a powerhouse. So guys, if you are considering e-commerce, strongly encourage you, welcome you, invite you, go to BigCommerce, check out the website, publicly traded company. They are a powerhouse for manufacturers getting into e-commerce. Paul, curious minds want to know, take a deep dive for folks that are not familiar with BigCommerce. How does BigCommerce make the world a better place?
Well, one, our amazing people here, amazing product. We're dedicated, to innovating in the space and keeping our merchants ahead, essentially, of what's coming. And so that takes the form of agency and partnership in combination of this, platform. This open SaaS kind of platform that allows the flexibility and scalability. And that leads to sustainability, actually through this kind of like digital technology, like low carbon footprint, all that great stuff that comes with it. But essentially we've just, been able to, and in my career too, what I see is like, it's about the people that we work with and today, and the trust that we earn, along that way. And so what I'm amazed about is, we've earned that trust of about 60,000 merchants today, and 9,000 of those merchants are enterprise that tune, up to about, I think, $100 billion in revenue, which is amazing to me. That's an enormous amount of trust. And, we're motivated, actually. I think, the quadrants that we sit in today are challengers. And that motivates us, to do even better.
Well, I absolutely love it. And you're relatively new to the company. What specifically, long-time career, serial entrepreneur, what sparked and inspired you to join this wonderful BigCommerce team?
Yeah, I think I had the unique advantage to be plugged into a number of the e-commerce platforms from, the startups essentially in the space, and pre-COVID, by the way, to the big players, the names you might more recognize, like BigCommerce. And I got to look at it from the lens of B2B and say, okay, who's going to be relevant and around, the next 10 years, 20, 30, 50, 100, right? And that's how I like to look at something, sometimes that far out. But essentially, it came down to who had the ability and the desire to actually solve these B2B complexities that existed today for businesses. And I wanted to serve those merchants every single day, wake up and go take on those challenges with the experience that I had so that they didn't have to make those same mistakes, or that they could achieve what they were trying to achieve in a shorter period of time in a costly way. And so BigCommerce stood out, and, they were focused in B2B. They had a great product. I had known John McCann now for essentially 2 years, and Lance, I got to know him and Fiona and some of the team members. And they're an amazing team doing amazing things, for companies with a fantastic product. So I gravitated towards that and wanted to be a part of that, movement and the momentum they were building.
Yep.
And so I got a part of it, but through that kind of lens, I got to see what was going on, other companies, and they were going after growth. And at the same time, BigCommerce was more, being cautious in that and going after profitability. And they were trying to do that and serve their customers that way too, with a real customer success focus. And that's why I'm here essentially, because of that team and their focus in B2B.
It's all about the mission, man. I love it. Very inspiring. Hey, we're going to dive into a little presentation here. And so I want to pull up, before we go there, Paul, we've got a question from Marcus. I want to chime in real quick and hit that. And let's see, can I get it pulled up here? I'd be interested to know how AI and social media are playing a part in your business. I'd be interested to know how AI and social media is playing a part in your business. And you want to take a stab at that one, Paul, and how, whether it's for BigCommerce or for your clients?
Yeah, I think AI is probably top of mind for a lot of folks. The reality is it's been relevant in the background for many years. It's been a part of this decade of emerging tech that we've seen. It's been actually there since mobile. It's been there since pre-cloud. And it's essentially ML, AI in general came about with, that mobile and that cloud. So I would say that it's trendy, you know about it now, possibly through chatbots and things like that. Mm-hmm. But I think it's a transformative technology that's actually more ingrained than people understand today. And it's in our ERP systems, it's in our CRMs, it's technology that exists in search, and it is going to continue to get better. But it actually is playing a big role today. In terms of marketing and social media, like the ML side of things, the models, are quite interesting. And those big language models that exist today are built off of connecting with the generative side of things. So when you type in something for search, on a website and it returns the correct, product to you, that's actually being done today by AI and ML. And it's only going to get better in the sense that they're going to start maybe solving these problems more as assistants, to humans. And then there's a second side of this that probably happens, and that's where machine to machine, we have maybe not essentially where we're just serving humans, but AI will be serving machines, and that gets really interesting too. So I think that there's a big role, and there's large investments already happening in that. And in the form of like BigCommerce, we have some functionality that's rolling out already. They've launched an app where you can go ahead and do product descriptions, with AI and tune up your product descriptions. So there's some like front-facing technology today accessible to you. But I love the question.
Well, love it. Thank you. And Marcus, thank you for the question. Again, guys, welcome. Happy Friday. We've got Paul. We're going Paulie D for short, right? We've got Paulie D in the house from BigCommerce. We've got another comment here. Blessed Friday to you, my friend. So Paulie, let's go here. I think you have a little presentation in the house for our crowd here. Let's go to the presentation and let's learn more about B2B e-commerce and what's going on at BigCommerce. You have a really exciting case study that we're going to dig into. Do I have that correct?
Yeah, we've got a case study that I prepared around MKM and their digital transformation. Awesome. If you guys want, you can scan those codes there as well if you wanted to connect with us on LinkedIn. So that's there for you guys to do. But yeah, jumping into it, essentially, we like to go through and frame like some of the key trends because we get asked this a lot, actually. And for those of you who are on the call, maybe you have to go justify budget, and you're trying to have those conversations around, unlocking maybe digital investment plays within the manufacturing space or wholesaler or distributor within the company that you're in. And it's good to just maybe have a high level view of, hey, what is going on in B2B online sales, right? So we try to paint that picture here for you. So the first slide actually is kind of showing you the digital shift in B2B that's happening. And to be honest, it's happening, and when you talk about it in terms of online, it's happening B2B, but also B2C. And so for me, I think it'd be better if we maybe shifted to commerce in general, but essentially as an essential growth driver, B2B e-commerce is, leading. And the way that the numbers look like, B2B online sales today account for 17% of all B2B sales. And they're expected to outpace offline traditional sales channels over the next 5 to 10 years. So, by 2030, I think it's projected that we'll see B2B online sales actually reach almost 40% of that pie. And that means that, the online B2B sales are projected to grow at 20% CAGR. That's what you see on the left chart there. And the offline B2B sales are trailing at 2.5% CAGR. So B2C essentially, online sales is advancing at 12.62% CAGR, and the offline for B2B or for B2C sales is at 1.5. So offline sales are real stagnant, slow over the next, 5-10 years. So if you're looking to unlock budget, you need to know that it's a viable investment. And these projections show you that not only today is, B2B kind of, becoming mainstream, but over the next couple of years, it's rapidly changing, where that growth rate is outpacing offline sales. And then the second side that's real exciting, and you probably hear about a lot, is the shift in the buyer preferences. This trend, was already happening essentially before the pandemic, but the pandemic accelerated the shift towards digital. And so the way that this looks like is that more B2B buyers are utilizing online platforms for every stage of the buying journey. That's what we see. And so B2B buyers are identifying new suppliers more, and they're going online more. How much more? From what we can see, essentially today, 87%, identify new suppliers online. That's up from 78% pre-pandemic.
Wow.
More of those B2B buyers are placing orders online, 79%, up from 70% pre-pandemic, right? Reordering, 77% more online, up from 72. And evaluating new suppliers, 74% up from 60% pre-pandemic. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's powerful information right there. And I think the one thing that stands out to me, identifying new suppliers at 87%. The question is, what are the other 13% doing, right? Like if you're not looking online, like I'm curious what those folks are doing, maybe at a trade show or what have you, but very powerful numbers. And when you look at the growth, I never want to be the smartest guy in the room, but man, just follow the money. I mean, like it's just showing you right there. So I love that, and I love how you're separating B2B and B2C, and like some of these acronyms, just, for our friends and folks out there, maybe we're like, hey, what are some of these acronyms? So we're just talking B2B, business to business transactions compared to business to consumer. So, a lot of the manufacturers that we're working with, they might be a custom manufacturer, or they're making, you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, man, I just lost you guys. Okay. So just staying online. But anyway, Paul, let's keep the party rolling. Again, guys, if you have any questions whatsoever, we have Paul here from BigCommerce. Keep those questions coming for us.
Yeah. And so, I kind of paint this picture of now, what's going on in B2B online sales, and then the buyer, preferences, how that's shifting. And it's looks like all this great opportunity, right? Drowning in opportunity. But, as businesses adapt, they need to also validate and communicate the ROI of the e-commerce investment. And that's paramount. Like there's the cost opportunity perspective here, right? And this seems to be a challenge internally we see to overcome, and unlock the budget for digital investments.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it's true though, because not all growth is the same. And the pandemic taught a lot of companies, especially manufacturing, that growth wasn't everything, right? I mean, put this in perspective. So there's unhealthy growth, as you're as you're gaining more sales and you're scaling, maybe your margins are shrinking because the cost to ship the product, is impacting the business. So yeah, you the goal would be, profitable growth. And that's where we really, help our clients and merchants and tech partners, is to help these companies through digital transformation in a profitable way. It's not just like, looking at the tech, but the digital maturity as the organization. So, the challenges though that present themselves from companies who come to BigCommerce and are looking to migrate kind of like culminate up into these three main challenges that we see businesses face before migration. And they're operational inefficiencies, website performance issues, and poor customer experience. And legacy tech is the growth blocker. I mean, it's an ROI killer. And these legacy systems are not just like inefficient, they're kind of detrimental in these cases. To overcome these barriers and achieve strategic growth, businesses, have to essentially combat that, legacy tech. And the form that legacy tech, when I talk about it, maybe might be good to know that looks like, outdated technology that the business is operating on, whether it's, 7 to 10-year-old ERP, CRMs that are disconnected, traditional SaaS platforms, maybe pre-cloud, monolithic, custom bolt-on solutions that you're like, this thing doesn't work. And then to add fuel to the fire, a lot of those systems are changing themselves and now moving into, a modern tech stack. You're faced with like, okay, well, what e-commerce platform should I go with to, marry up to my new ERP system? So this is super interesting because essentially this kind of leads to the strategic investment side of things. And so businesses want to combat operational inefficiencies, and we see that contributes to about 30% operational losses, right? So on one side we have, we have cost savings for the business we talk about and revenue gains. And so you could think if you get rid of something that's, 30% operational loss across the org, it's quite impactful. So when we do talk about legacy tech and sunsetting one piece of legacy tech, we see that essentially you can gain about 20% cost savings in the org by sunsetting one piece. And typically that ends up paying for the e-commerce platform, project in itself.
Right.
But if you're not there, maybe you're bringing on, new e-commerce platform. It's still a cost savings, and that comes in the form of, resolving website performance issues that are caused by the outdated systems. That comes in the biggest form, though, of elevating the customer experience to gain a competitive edge. And that's what we see, that actually companies, that manufacturers, wholesalers, distributors who are doing digital plays, they focus on the customer experience, and that's the number one driver for the investment. It's very customer centric, and it's actually amazing to me that when the companies do deliver this customer experience, they build a moat around that customer experience. And now laggers in the space that didn't do digital or were sitting on it too long, or couldn't achieve it because they wanted to, maybe they shot for the moon and they tripped on their shoelaces, essentially. They end up not being able to gain growth or new customers because they can't achieve that customer experience that exists from that competitor. Right. So it's very impactful, actually. The impacts are enormous.
Well, I love the analogy that you just laid with, putting the moat around the customer experience, and so the folks that are ignoring this, doing nothing is your biggest enemy right now, right? Doing nothing is your biggest enemy as far as e-commerce goes. So man, you're just making some phenomenal points here. You have, let's keep it going, Paul. What have you got next on your slides?
Yeah, so I just round this out by saying that, a lot of folks then ask us, what are the trends of open SaaS commerce, right? And essentially, if nobody knows, I mean, BigCommerce is an open SaaS model where essentially, simplify this, but 99% of our APIs are exposed for you to use to build, your own solutions too. But that's not essentially how all of our deployments are done. It's not custom. Right. In fact, there's the B2B edition out of the box plays here where you can just get up and running quickly, through some deployments. But essentially that open SaaS e-commerce, it's not like a trend, it's becoming a standard. And the flexibility it offers in integrating like the various systems, the scalability to grow with the business needs is what's paramount there. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing like businesses leverage open SaaS to create more personalized and efficient customer journeys, which is crucial in today's like highly competitive market. So yeah, the ability to quickly adapt to market changes, and especially like in these kind of, economic climates that we're in, challenging. We see success, and there's this ability to adapt to not only the market change, but to the customer preferences. And that seems to be the key advantage to the open SaaS platforms at the moment. MKM is interesting. This is the case study that we'll go into, sure. Who is actually probably now, there's only one or two companies in the world that's ever now achieved the Mock Alliance Award. And I implore you, if you haven't learned about what Mock is, that you do, go discover that. But MKM is the case study that I'll get to talk about. And essentially they're a wholesaler here. So I like this because I see that there's all this talk normally around the B2C experience, and that you hear like manufacturers do what I call D2B, direct to business, and then on the B2C side, you have direct to consumer. So the D2C play. Well, in business world, it's the direct to business play. Nice. But what's really funny, we look at the trends. If I were to show you actually another trend here, which I probably should do one day. But if I were to show you the share of online e-commerce by deployment, you would see that the indirect channels like wholesalers, distributors, right? They are 50% of deployments today, whereas like manufacturers are 40%. And then there's about 10% that's being done through these kind of like customer buyer, deployments. And that's what's really interesting, that although like it's interesting to talk about D2B, and the reality though is like the offline B2B world for manufacturers is done through indirect channels or wholesalers, your indirect channels. And so it's a hybrid model that we see companies be most successful at. And this is a great example here of a wholesaler, working with manufacturers to be successful and to, what I like to say, expand the category rather than to have that channel conflict that a lot of businesses, have in mind when they're just thinking direct to business as maybe their only digital play. And it's not, the reality is you can bring your indirect channels online. In fact, they probably already are, and you can have that synergy. So zero conflict, there. Yep. But introducing you to MKM Building Supplies is exciting actually for me because essentially they're UK's fastest growing builders merchants. They leverage BigCommerce essentially in this use case, and have won that Best B2B Mock Alliance Award to achieve, winning out against 150 other entrants in that. They were essentially founded in 1995. And I'll show you their founder in a second, but they get 2,500 employees. They have 123 branches, and they're doing $1 billion in revenue today. And essentially, MKM, though, came to us at a time where they had under 100 branches, and they were 600 million in sales. They were growing, though, rapidly. And today they can say that they are now the largest, not only the fastest growing, but the largest merchant, builders merchant in all of UK. So essentially, yeah, David Kilburn was their founder, you guys, and he was 50 years old when he founded the company.
No
And
kidding.
he thought, yeah. And I love this. I absolutely love this about him. And he actually found the company on like one principle, like our product is actually the service we give. So he was just so customer centric from the get-go. And this is what I love about MKM. They had this in-store customer excellence where you would walk into any one of their branches and, you would get the best customer experience ever. And if you're having a tough time, like who is their core customer base for a second? They're the tradesmen. They're the guys that were like, on the job, doing builds for customers, and they relied on having, these products, when they needed it. But the big problem was MKM was essentially grappling with 11-year-old online storefront. It was end of life. They had this historical reliance on branches, that had led like the core customers essentially to being directed away from using the website. So if you did walk in, you could imagine you walking in the store and then being told like not to use the website. So their core customer base, when they came to us, never used the website, and we're being told not to.
Right.
And this was so problematic actually because they had done a survey through NPS scoring, found out they were very difficult to do business with online, right? And not only that, but over the next 5 years, 45% of their core customer base was retiring. A new buyer was in front of them.
Yeah.
And if you ever hear Andy, so Andy's down in the right corner there, I'm sorry because there's some animations that overtake it, but Lance's head is in front of Andy's head. But he just talked about this legacy tech system as like a shackle. They felt shackled. They'd never want to be in that position again.
Yep.
And they couldn't like achieve this great customer experience they needed to online. So they had to do something about it, right? And it was so massive at scale with 100 branches. They were serving 197,000 customers, and they had 1.8 billion customer product price combinations. This system was so the challenge areas they had, slow page load times, navigation issues, SKU management troubles, stemming from the outdated systems. So they had these technical, efficiency issues. Operational capacity, managing the extensive product range, became significant challenge, training resources. This was very costly for them, actually. Yeah. So the platform cost too, and to manage it, very high cost of ownership, inability to provide localized, personalized shopping experiences, too. So they were limited. Customer experience, these technical inefficiencies led to the decline of their online market share and customer satisfaction. Their 45% base of customers were going to change on them. They had to do something, So they had this strategic direction, essentially, they had this unique business model, rapid growth, and they wanted to have that strong digital strategy. So what to do? And essentially, they did their transformation, with BigCommerce, and they had no dev team. And so they needed to go to a partnership. And in our space, we have these tech partners, we have agency partners, and if you have no dev team, you're a company, you can build amazing products with us through our system integrators. And so that's what happened here with MKM. Without a dev team, MKM joined forces with, in this case, Bray Bison, one of our system integrators, and then the tech providers, were chosen to rebuild the website with a headless architecture, focusing on 5 main components. And the 5 main components are listed here in the architecture diagram. And BigCommerce, essentially, we powered the commerce engine. So, and then we also powered the PCI compliance, so the checkout. And View Storefront was used for the front end, like the headless front end, anything like the customer surfaced with, any surface they were on. And so they they managed everything up to checkout, and then essentially BigCommerce managed everything past checkout. And then Bloomreach was used as well in this for CMS and personalized search and merch. That was the content, essentially being served up. That was powering search. And then we had Feedonomics, in there, actually taking all this, 1.8 billion price product combinations and serving it to a feed to aggregate it to other marketplaces, for discovery. And
so, hey, Paul, I want to chime in real quick. A couple of things I'd love for you to clarify, just for folks, if there were a couple of terms that they didn't pick up on. Just can you explain PCI compliance real quick for everybody?
It's a privacy and also a security mechanism in the securities of payments.
Yep.
So yeah,
so anybody out there getting into e-commerce, you absolutely need to be familiar with PCI compliance. And then I just, if you could just take a minute, just explain to folks headless, like if that's a new term or foreign language of people out there, can you just explain headless real quick?
Yeah, it just means that you're able to decouple your front end, website from your back end services. So if you were to look at the diagram here, it allows, that the front end's over here at View Storefront. I don't know. I can't point to it. I'm sorry, you guys. But
no, you're fine.
You should see it there.
Yep.
And yeah, all these essentially by decoupling, the front end from the back end, you can achieve some really amazing custom personalized, experiences for the customer. But then you have this kind of streamlined back end for services that like your customer centers get to interact with.
Yep.
And that's the power of it. And then in the middle, you have microservices, like where you have this middleware layer that's working for you. Yep. And all that gets, basically connected up to ERP or CRM, to PIMS. And so the decoupling is actually, it's MOC is a acronym, and I'm not going to go into it, but headless is a part of that acronym. Awesome. So it's one component. Yeah.
And anybody out there that's interested in BigCommerce, go to the BigCommerce website or just connect with Paul and we can take this conversation much deeper. Hey, we've got a comment from my co-host, Damon's in the house here. So Damon had a conflict today. He couldn't be with us. So Damon, hello, everyone stopping by. Kind of strange looking at it this way. So Damon, we miss your brother. We're having a great conversation. He's a big e-commerce dude, Paul. So we're going to bring Paul back so you can connect with Damon. But Paul, I know I want to be mindful and respectful of your time. What else do we want to cover here for everybody?
No, I think we were highly ambitious in covering this. So I think, there's huge impacts, honestly, from this solution. And the MKM essentially is just a standout, use case. I would say that this is something that we love doing for our merchants, for our tech partners, our agencies. And if you're a business that, is in this process of trying to figure out your investments or how to do digital and get, go through that digital maturity journey, then, come and talk with us. And if you're wanting to learn more essentially around the larger impacts that we have this total economic impact report that you can get access to. I didn't get the chance to cover it here, but MKM was one of the 6 aggregate companies that was used to compile this data that showed the proven impacts of, BigCommerce essentially in business. They're one of the bigger ones. They took companies from our aggregate that were 50 million in revenue to $1 billion, MKM being one of the billion. And that has a focus in manufacturing, distribution, and in wholesale. And so I would say that definitely go check it out. And you can scan this link to actually go see it. But I'd love an opportunity to come back and maybe answer some of the questions that got raised here and to finish out, any of this kind of conversation. But if it's interesting to people.
Absolutely. So, all right, guys. So you want to connect with Paul on LinkedIn, stop by BigCommerce. You want to learn more, scan the barcode here. Paul, as we wind down, any more parting thoughts, words of wisdom that you want to share with everybody as far as like how, for anybody out there who's starting off their B2B e-commerce journey, any last words of wisdom that you want to share?
Yeah, I would say, kind of take this approach of crawl, walk, run.
Nice.
And yeah, really the mantra is, start small, show success, and grow it profitably. But definitely don't wait too long, you guys, because the reality is that B2B commerce, online is, it's mainstream, and there's an accelerant here. And that's where the growth is happening. That's where your customers are. And honestly, the secret to all of this is that happy, loyal customers drive growth, So
Drop the mic there, right? Happy, loyal customers. I love it. So, all right, guys, we'll wind down and we thank you for everybody joining us. And if you've enjoyed this as much as I have, how about you give a little round of applause for Paulie D for just knocking a ball out of the park. Speaking of knocking a ball, I have one last question for you, Paul. You ready? You sitting down for this one? You ready?
I'm ready.
Are you, Paul, you a baseball fan by any chance?
Yeah, I am. Yes.
Who's your team?
Oh man. Okay. So Baltimore Orioles.
Oh, you're an Orioles. Hey, man, they had a great season this year.
Yeah, my wife is from Baltimore. So
okay. All right. So I have a little question for you. You ready?
Go for it.
Baltimore Orioles are playing a game. They're playing the Yankees, as a matter of fact. And it's the bottom of the ninth, 2 outs. There's a guy on second base. Okay. Baltimore and the Yankees, bottom of the ninth, guy on second base, 2 outs. They need a single, just like they've got to put this game away, right? The manager turns down the bench and looks down and says, "Hey, Paulie D, dude, get up there and hit in the winning run. I want to get out of here," right? You grab your bat, you walk up to the plate to hit in that winning run. As you're walking up to the plate, what's your walk-up song?
What's my walk-up song?
What's your walk-up song?
Oh man, Eye of the Tiger.
Eye of the Tiger. Hey, that's a good one, man. You were quick on that. I like it. Eye of the Tiger. Love it. So, Paulie, thank you for playing my little walk-up trivia game. I love it. So, guys, thank you for joining us today. We appreciate you. We send you greetings for an amazing, incredible weekend. Keep going out there crushing it. Connect with Paul. Stop by BigCommerce. And, boy, for your e-commerce journey, there's no better solution than BigCommerce. Paul, we appreciate you, brother. Thank you for joining us. We're going to have you back. I want Damon here, and we're going to do a deep dive and just take this to a whole new level. So, guys, have a great weekend, and we will see you next week.
Thank you all.